There are stories that aren't shouted, they're whispered. Stories so old they're not in books but in the bones of the soul. This is one of those. If you're here, it's no coincidence. You're about to hear a tale that heaven tried to silence, but that time refused to bury. Before you enter this dimension of truth and memory, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Not for me, but for you. Because what you're about to feel can change something inside you, and I want you to be with me when history trembles again. Let's begin. Some things the heavens tried to bury in silence, but silence has a way of echoing when the truth is too heavy. It didn't start with fire or rebellion. It started with a glance, a look that lingered longer than it should, the kind of look that cracks the divine, that opens the door between what is sacred and what should never be touched. Angels, beings forged in light and glory, turned their gaze downward, and what they saw on earth didn't just captivate them, it shattered something within them. They saw women, not perfect, not divine, but real, human, breathing, flawed, alive. And there, in the rawness of humanity, something stirred in them that no heavenly choir ever could. Curiosity bloomed into fascination. Fascination fermented into hunger. And that hunger grew into something far more dangerous: desire. This wasn't the kind of love the heavens blessed. It was the kind of ache that unravels the soul. They descended, not as messengers, not as warriors. They didn't come with trumpets or praise. They came like fugitives, fallen, but not yet condemned. They chose women as wives, built homes that defied divine order. It looked like love. It felt like devotion. But under the surface, it was rebellion wrapped in affection. The sky trembled. The earth whispered warnings. No one listened. The women, some enchanted, others simply enamored, gave themselves to the light that had no place on earth. They thought they were chosen. They thought this was divine romance. But what they were truly caught in was a war between realms, a fracture that broke the balance of creation. Where love was meant to heal, this union wounded everything it touched. And from that wound, giants were born. Nephilim, creatures not entirely angel, not entirely human, born of passion, but bred in chaos. They weren't just large in size, they were immense in fury, insatiable in thirst for domination. From the moment they opened their eyes, the world began to bend under their weight. Cities fell, villages vanished, laughter turned into screams. Mothers who once cradled these beings with pride now wept in shadows. Fathers fled, and the angels who had once burned with desire began to feel the crushing weight of consequence. What was once a divine spark had turned into a cosmic wildfire, but it was too late. The blood had been spilled, the harmony was broken, and somewhere, in the silence between heaven and earth, God watched. Let me ask you something. Have you ever loved something so deeply that it destroyed you? If this story is resonating in your chest like a forgotten song, stay. Don't turn away. This isn't just a story about angels. It's about us. About the times we crossed sacred lines believing it was love. Hit like if it's already reaching a part of you that words don't usually touch. This journey has only just begun. The world didn't end all at once. It rotted slowly from within. The Nephilim roamed without mercy. Their strength knew no bounds, and their conscience was void. They devoured peace and played with death like it was a toy. Where they walked, nothing grew. Where they laughed, nothing smiled. They were the echo of a mistake that couldn't be undone. The sky turned dark, not with clouds, but with grief. Animals fled. The earth groaned under their weight, and in the heavens, the silence thickened. But silence does not mean absence. It means preparation. God was watching. Every cry, every shattered soul, every broken prayer. He saw it all. And the time of reckoning was coming. Not with flames, not with swords, but with something far more complete. Water. Michael rose, not in wrath, but in resolve. The archangel, commander of justice, stood not to destroy, but to restore. Heaven's armies followed. This wasn't a battle against devils. It was a war against the children of disobedience, against something birthed in love, but twisted into rebellion. Michael didn't carry hatred, he carried truth. And truth has a way of cutting deeper than any blade. The flood came, not just as rain, but as memory, as a divine reset. It swallowed mountains, silenced cities, and rewrote the very shape of the earth. But not all were lost. Some women survived, the ones who had once loved angels, not as a reward, but as living reminders, not as saints, but as scars, breathing remnants of what happens when desire overtakes purpose. They wept, for their sons who never knew peace, for their husbands who now sat chained in celestial prisons, for themselves, for having fallen for the wrong light, for mistaking awe for truth. Not all repented, but the ones who did, their tears rose like incense. God saw, God heard. Redemption was not impossible, just costly. Among them was Nama, beautiful, proud, unyielding. She didn't cry. She didn't bow. She stood like a ruin kissed by fire. Her heart did not break, it hardened. In her chest, what she had felt was real. She clung to it like armor, even if that love had shattered the world. For her, love was enough. And in that stubborn flame, heaven saw something more dangerous than rebellion. Pride. God does not forget, but he does forgive. And forgiveness, when offered to a heart that refuses to kneel, turns into judgment. If this story is cracking something inside you, don't ignore it. Comment below. Have you ever chosen pride over healing? Because that's not just their story. That's ours too. Michael didn't speak. He didn't shout. He simply looked. And in his silence, the heavens roared. His gaze was not of vengeance but revelation. One by one, the cursed women met his eyes. And in that holy reflection, they saw themselves, not the illusion, not the legend, but the truth. What they were, what they believed they were, and what they could still become. The weight of that truth was heavier than chains. Some collapsed under it. On their knees, beneath the ocean's sorrow, they wept as if the soul cracked open. Because when heaven shows you your true reflection, no disguise can hold. Nama, the proud, the untouchable, stood frozen. For the first time, silent. Her pride trembled, her shield faltered, and in her eyes, for just a second, a flicker, a crack. The beginning of a miracle is always a tremor in the armor. Michael raised his hand, not to destroy, but to call. He didn't promise a return to humanity. He didn't offer to erase the past. The heavens don't pretend it never happened. The heavens redeem. He opened a space in the story that didn't exist before, a corner carved not by merit, but by surrender, a place where even the forgotten could find purpose again. And in that eternal second, some of them moved forward, not because they were pure, not because they felt worthy, but because they were exhausted, tired of hiding behind sorrow, tired of singing lies, tired of bearing a beauty that had turned hollow, tired of dragging guilt like a second skin. They didn't explain. They didn't defend. They just let go. Michael didn't need confessions. Heaven doesn't wait for perfect words. It listens to the soul. And in that moment, what rose from them wasn't just a melody. It was a new sound. Their voices cracked, soft, trembling. No longer chants of seduction, no longer cries of despair. It was something else, a whisper of truth, a song of return. The sea shook. The creatures of the deep drew near. The heavens leaned in. Because that new song wasn't for men. It wasn't for ships. It was for God. A primitive, broken, beautiful cry that said, "I'm still breathing. I'm still here." God didn't answer with thunder. He answered with presence, a warm breeze, a shimmer in the waters, not from the sun, but from above. They knew. Without words, they knew. They had been seen, forgiven, not because they asked, but because their tears spoke louder than pride ever could. Michael said nothing, just closed his eyes. His part was done. Justice had arrived not with violence, but with truth. And these women who once defied heaven for love now stood as proof that heaven still loves the lost. They stayed, not in palaces, not in sanctuaries, but in the sea. Yes, they were still sirens, but no longer cursed. Now they were signs, warnings for the proud, beacons for the broken, living echoes of both ruin and redemption. They had become legend, yes, but not the kind that drags men down, the kind that lifts others up. Their beauty didn't vanish, but it changed. It no longer lured. It invited. It no longer deceived. It awakened. There's something sacred about brokenness that still hopes, about wounds that still sing. They didn't forget who they were, but they were no longer bound by it. Their past didn't define them. It illuminated the path forward, for others to follow. Michael left them not with a sword, but with a legacy. One not written in scriptures, but carried in whispers, in waves, in dreams. Because some truths are too tender for pages. They live in spirit, in wind, in the hush before sleep. He didn't need to explain. Heaven doesn't always leave explanations. It leaves presence, and presence changes everything. Maybe you came here just curious. Maybe you thought this was just another myth. But if you're still here, it's because something in you recognized something in them. That ache, that longing, that hidden place you thought no one could ever touch. This story, this truth, wasn't just about them. It was about you. You who've made mistakes too heavy to speak. You who carry shame like an invisible anchor. You who thought no divine light could ever reach that deep. This is heaven's answer. Not in thunder, in whisper, not in rejection, in recognition. You are seen. You are not discarded. There's still music left in you. So write it, sing it, live it. Let this be your beginning, not your end. Share this story with someone who still believes sirens are just fairy tales. Maybe their soul is waiting to hear what yours just heard. Don't keep it to yourself. The world needs more truth wrapped in beauty, more broken voices singing the way back home. And if this touched something in you, if your heart is pounding and you don't know why, don't ignore it. Write in the comments, "Heaven still sees me." Someone will read it and realize they're not alone. Subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay awakened. We're not just telling stories here. We're hearing souls. Yours matters. You're still part of the song. Now you know. Now you've seen what the world tried to forget. The story of the fallen, the sirens, the war between divine purpose and forbidden desire. It's not just an ancient tale wrapped in mystery. It's a mirror, a call, a reminder that no one is too far, too broken, or too lost for redemption. Not even those turned into legends. If you've ever felt like your past disqualified you, this is proof it doesn't. If you've ever believed the lie that your story ended in shame, hear this clearly. God still sees you. God still reaches. And when He comes, He doesn't come to destroy. He comes to restore. That's what this story is about. That's what your life can still become. Don't leave this moment unchanged. Don't scroll away and let this truth fade. If this message reached your soul, act on it. Make a decision today. Subscribe to this channel. Follow Jesus. Let the light into the parts you've hidden for too long. This isn't just another video. This is a turning point. Let it be the moment where everything shifts. Comment below. I'm ready to return. Not for me, for you. For the part of you that still hopes, still aches, still longs to be held by something eternal. This is your invitation. To healing, to wholeness, to belonging. You are not a mistake. You are not forgotten. And your voice, no matter how cracked or quiet, still matters. Share this video with someone who needs to know they're not alone, someone who's drowning in silence, someone who still believes God gave up on them. Be the echo of truth in someone else's darkness. And don't stop here. Keep listening, keep seeking, keep showing up. My name is Oliver. I'm just a voice, a storyteller, but more than that, I'm someone who believes in your redemption. I've been where you are. I know what it's like to feel unseen. And I'm here to remind you, heaven hasn't stopped watching. God hasn't stopped calling. Wherever you are right now, I hope this message wraps around you like a warm wind. I hope you carry it with you. And when you feel alone again, come back. This space was made for souls like yours. Until next time, stay close to the light, stay hungry for the truth, and never forget, you are still part of the story.